Good afternoon, everyone. Our project is entitled AutoDrive, which is an integrated platform for furthering research and education in the field of autonomous driving. What motivated us to take up this project? So, first of all, we have been working in this field of self-driving cars and autonomous vehicles for quite some time now, and we have experienced a lack of resources in developing countries like India, especially when it comes to hardware deployment of algorithms implemented for this application. The second and third points are actually interlinked. So, first of all, there is a lack of integrated platforms, which means that the existing platforms are either only hardware testbeds or software simulators, and there is no harmony in between the two. Which comes to the third point that the existing platforms lacks the mechatronics approach of system design, wherein the goal is to co-develop hardware and software simultaneously and harmoniously. Finally, there is a significant lack, or I would say that there is no simulator available for scaled autonomous vehicles, which is a huge problem since most of the researchers are currently using simulators targeted towards full scale vehicles, and then they are trying to transfer their algorithms onto small scale cars, which creates problems due to the different high difference in the dynamics. Also, the scaled environments are drastically different than real ones, and therefore the perception data is also quite different in case of a scaled vehicle setup. Coming to the objectives of our project, we have divided our project into a primary and secondary set of objectives. The primary objective of this project was to develop such a platform to enable research and education in the field of autonomous driving. So for that, we have proposed three different components of the platform. One is the test bed, which is the hardware version. Second is the simulator, which is digital twin of the test bed. Both of them comprise of a scaled vehicle and a modular infrastructure development kit to develop a scaled setup of the environment. Finally, we also provide what we call AutoDrive Dev Kit, which comprises of elementary elements of designing software stacks for autonomous driving as well as smart city applications. The secondary objective of this project was to exploit the platform to demonstrate a few applications and to demonstrate what it is capable of actually. So we have chosen four applications, and we will be talking about them in detail in the further presentation. So coming to the work breakdown, we have divided this entire project into different phases, as you can see, which comprises of development of the test bed, simulator, and the dev kit, as well as exploiting all these parts to demonstrate some of the applications pertaining to autonomous driving and smart city management, and finally documenting the entire project. So coming to the responsibility assignment, with respect to each WBS item that I just showed, we have assigned primary and secondary responsibilities amongst ourselves. Now it is just to indicate the responsibility, and it's not a measure of who did which part of the project. This is the project execution plan that we have followed throughout the semester. So I would like to mention that all the objectives that we had stated are accomplished, and we have even stretched our limits to implement a few more. Coming to the platform development, first I will talk about the test bed, which is the hardware. So as you can see, the vehicle here, it has a like Ackermann steered rear wheel drive geometry, which is very important feature of this platform, because most of the current existing platforms are targeted towards differential drive robots, and they cannot resemble the kinodynamic constraints of a real car when considering research and education in terms of self-driving cars. It has a comprehensive sensor suite and high computational power using NVIDIA Jetson Nano. So the sensors comprise of throttle and steering feedbacks, which are encoded virtual sensors, and 9-axis IMU incremental encoders for the rear wheels, front and rear view cameras, as well as a 2D laser scanner on top, as you can see. Further, for communications, we are utilizing the gigabit Ethernet and Wi-Fi link for distributed computing, and the serial and parallel communication interfaces as indicated here. For actuators, we have steering and throttle, I mean the drive actuator, which help the vehicle move like a real constrained car. And we also provide lights and indicators for signaling as a standard vehicle, which has headlights, tail lights, and turning and reverse indicators as well. Coming to the infrastructure development, we provide several terrain modules, as you can see, as well as road kits, which comprise of various different types of elements, such as intersections, roadways, parking lots, and everything. This is an example setup for a 2-lane road kit. We also offer the same variants in 1, 2, 4, and 6 lanes. We have obstruction modules, the one that resembles like a building structure, and another traffic cone, which is meant to be a smaller obstacle version. We also have several traffic elements, including traffic signs as well as traffic lights, which can be actively controlled by the user. And we offer a surveillance element in form of auto drive eye, as we like to call it, which can be used to survey the entire map from the top above. For example, here you can see one of the applications where the intrinsic parameters of the camera are calibrated to perform localization using April tag markers in the environment. We also offer two pre-configured maps. One is the driving school, as you can see here in the middle right, and another is parking school. These we have utilized for applications as well. Coming to the development of the simulator, as I said earlier, Autodrive Simulator is the exact digital twin of the Autodrive testbed, wherein we take good care of vehicle as well as infrastructure simulation in terms of both dynamics and kinematics in the back end, as well as graphics and aesthetics on the front end. So the vehicle's kinodynamic constraints are modeled extremely accurately in order to make it as realistically drivable as possible in the simulator as well. We have also modeled all the sensors, actuators, and lights and indicators in the backend to make them resemble their real-world counterparts. And they are, for example, the lidar range array, or the even for the lights and indicators, we have like kept the light intensities measurable to the real-world counterpart. We have also taken good care of aesthetics of the vehicle, which is extremely important in case of computer vision applications. So users can directly deploy their algorithms from simulation to real. We'll be talking about this in depth when we show one particular demonstration. For infrastructure simulation as well, we have attached physical attributes to all the environmental modules, as he described earlier, including the roadways, the terrain modules, the buildings, everything. Here you can see a simulation where the vehicle has crashed into the obstruction modules, and they have like dynamically fallen as they would in real life. The aesthetics of the environment have also been taken care of, as I said, because it is extremely important for computer vision applications. And we offer several pre-configured maps in the simulator as well. In addition to those two that we offer in testbed, which is the driving school and the parking school, we also offer two additional in the simulator, which is the intersection school for intersection management, and a tiny town map, which comprises of all dual lane road kit modules. Coming to the features of the simulator, first of all, at the back end, we simulate realistic physical conditions using NVIDIA's physics engine for dynamic recomputing of all the parameters involved in the environment. On the front end, we use Unity's high definition rendering pipeline as well as post processing stack to render realistic graphics, which is extremely important, as I said, for computer vision and sim to real applications particularly. The simulator features a communication bridge in form of WebSocket interface to link with the externally developed software stack for users. It features three different camera views which can be switched using this button here. The first one is driver's eye, which follows the vehicle from behind. The second one is bird's eye, which follows the vehicle from above. And the third one is God's eye, which is an isometric view. The simulator graphics quality can also be adjusted using this button, which is useful for various different types of platforms, both low end and high end. And it can be switched based on the application as well. So here you can see low graphics, wherein most of the graphic elements are disabled. Here shadows and skybox are dynamically enabled. And here finally you have both high definition rendering pipeline as well as post processing enabled. The simulator also features a scene light toggling button here, wherein which can be used to toggle the scene light on or off to simulate daylight or night driving conditions. Coming to the graphical user interface, we have offered the menu panel, which is mostly used to interact with the simulator features, as I described earlier, as well as a heads-up display to visualize simulation parameters, vehicle stats, and sensory data in real time. It also hosts a data recording functionality to record all the sensory data as well as vehicle states for a particular run. In its source form, the simulator supports native C# scripting, as well as it also has an integrated machine learning framework so that users can directly develop machine learning related applications from within the simulator without installing a single library external. Coming to the development of AutoDrive DevKit, it comprises of two key elements: the Autonomous Driving Software Stack Toolkit as well as Smart City Software Stack Toolkit. The Autonomous Driving Software Stack Toolkit comprises of a ROS package as well as direct scripting APIs for Python and C++, and it is mainly intended for vehicular autonomy applications. Here you can see a sample RV's window connected with the simulator and visualization of all the vehicle sensors as well as states. The Smart City software stack comprises of an SCM server, which is a Smart City Manager server, and it hosts a database to keep track of all the active elements within the scene. For example, the vehicles, traffic signs, and traffic lights, their poses as well as their states. And it also hosts a web application, as you can see here, which helps the users visualize the database as well as control the aspects of the scene. For example, the traffic lights. Coming to the exploitation of the platform.
Now I will be just demonstrating what problems we have solved and the end result of what we have obtained. And if you have any specific question, we will be very happy to answer them. The first application is of autonomous parking, wherein we use the traditional perception planning control architecture. For perception, we are only using a 2D laser scanner mounted on top of the vehicle, even for the odometry purposes, since the wheel-based odometry is prone to give a error and it gets accumulated over time. So here you can see that we are performing odometry by laser scan matching. We match the iterative laser scans by using a coarse to fine scheme, and as a result you can see that we are estimating the velocity of the vehicle, and based on the velocity of the vehicle we are just computing the transform with respect to the previous instant, and that gives us the odometry estimate. Next, we perform simultaneous localization and mapping to map the environment. For this purpose, we are using Hector SLAM algorithm, which relies on the laser scan measurements. One of the key things to note here is that there are no obstructions present here or here in the scene while mapping is done. And we have later on added two obstructions here to resemble peer vehicles in the parking lot, wherein we can test the dynamic obstruction avoidance capability of the vehicle. Here, the green is the trajectory that was followed by the vehicle. This is the map-based localization, wherein the green arrows represent the belief of the vehicle's pose. And as you can see that the pose is like the belief is converging over time, since the vehicle is getting more and more certain with respect to how where exactly it is with respect to the map. For this purpose, we have used adaptive Monte Carlo localization, or as it is mostly called particle filter localization algorithm. Next, once the localization module was tested, we actually came to the final version, that is path planning and control for autonomous parking. Here, I will provide a 2D estimate for localization module, where exactly is the car with respect to the map, and then I will provide a 2D goal between the boxes, as you can see here, which represent the peer vehicles in a parking scene. Here, the green trajectory is the global plan, which is generated using A-star search algorithm, operating on the Manhattan distance and obstacle cost heuristics. And the yellow trajectory here is the local plan, which is dynamically replanned at each time step, so as to avoid collisions with respect with obstacles, especially that were not a part of the map building process. So as you can see, the local cost map is visible here, and the vehicle is parking perfectly as desired.
Coming to the second application, this is the one of behavioral cloning using deep imitation learning and computer vision techniques. So the objective here is to make the vehicle drive autonomously in an end-to-end manner, like without any explicit perception planning or control modules, by training a deep neural network to mimic the driving behavior of a human. So here you can see that the manual data, driving data is being recorded using the data recording functionality of the simulator. This is used to train a 6-layer deep convolutional neural network with 3 convolutional and 3 fully connected layers to directly predict the steering angle based on the static front camera image. Uh, the training was carried out in a way that we actually took care of data augmentation to randomize the domain of the application, which was later used for sim to real transfer as well. So here you can see that the trained model was deployed back on the simulated vehicle to test its autonomy. You can see how smoothly the vehicle is driving on the road or the simulated track. Once this In order to know what is happening in the background, we got an insight into the end-to-end pipeline by visualizing the raw frame in the background. As you can see, the entire background, then the pre-processed frame, which is pre-processed using standard computer vision techniques, and after which it was fed to neural network for inference. You can see different activation maps for different layers of the convolutional neural network, and you can see how the network is recognizing road boundaries and lane markings without any explicit perception module governing it. After the simulation test, we deployed the same model, which was trained only on simulated driving data on the real vehicle. And here you can see how the vehicle is performing in real life without ever seeing this map before. So key thing to notice here is that there in real world, of course, there are creases and stray marks on the environment. But due to domain randomization, as I said earlier, which was carried out using online data augmentation, this problem was tackled. Specifically, shadows and patches were augmented onto the road while training the model, so as to make it neglect these type of environmental errors in the real world. As you can see, the vehicle has traveled extremely well in real life as well. And this is the same kind of insight into how the vehicle was seeing the road in real life. So here you can see the raw frame in the background, the pre-processed and the various activation maps for the convolutional layers. uh, a key thing to note here is the final activation map, or the salient activation map, which we say, which comprises of all the key elements within the previous activation maps. And you can see how the road is being detected here. Below here, you can see the steering command plot live, which indicates that first the vehicle was turning left and now it's turning on the right side.
The next implementation is that of intersection traversal. This is a multi-vehicle implementation, in which we have implemented a single agent learning scenario as well as a multi-agent learning scenario. This implementation was performed using deep reinforcement learning. In the single agent learning scenario, there is an ego vehicle which is learning to traverse from one end of the intersection to the other, while the other peer vehicles are mere dynamic obstacles of the environment and they are not learning anything as such from this particular vehicle. We have employed V2V communication to share the states of the peer vehicles with the ego vehicle. So in the initial stages of the training, as you can see that the ego vehicle is trying to explore the environment, and as a result, it's colliding multiple times and stepping the lane bounds as well. As the training progresses, it gets an idea that it has to reach to the other end to maximize its expected reward. And as a result, it is trying to exploit that behavior, yet trying to explore some new uh, actions as well. And finally, the agent has successfully learned to traverse to the other end of the intersection. As you can see, it went to the left lane and now it went to the rightmost lane. Coming to the multi-agent learning scenario, now all the vehicles are simultaneously learning to traverse to the other end of the intersection while avoiding collision with respect to each other or stepping in the lane bounds. As a result, the conflict zone is pretty large, as you can see. This is the random actions of all the vehicles can cause a very stochastic scenario. Again, we have used V2V communication for sharing the states amongst the vehicles. In the initial stages, you can see that the scenario is highly stochastic, and as a result, many are colliding with respect to each other. One or two times, they try to go to the goal, as in the middle phases of the training, and they get an idea of what exactly is to be accomplished. And finally, at the end stages of the training, you can see that all agents have learned and none of them are colliding if you closely observe. And they are traversing successfully to the other end of the intersection.
Coming to the final implementation, it is of smart city management using V2I communication. Basically, the goal here for the vehicle is to traverse navigate the entire track with for by following all the traffic rules that are set forth by the traffic signs, traffic lights, and the lane markings. It is to be noted that the vehicle is not perceiving the environment actively here. It is rather being controlled through a centralized smart city manager server, as you can see down here, which monitors the vehicle's traffic signs as well as traffic lights in real time. And basically, based on a state machine, it generates the control commands for the vehicle. The state machine goes as follows: like for example, to track the path, the vehicle is given a steering trim, which is 0 if it wants to go straight, which is in the intersection part. Then for a left curve, once it observes the traffic signs for left curve, it will trim its steering towards left by 0.7% of its maximum steering limit, and will be actively controlled only in the neighborhood of that. Similarly, for right turn, it will be trimming its steering on the right side at zero point 0.7 and will be actively controlled only within that limit, within the neighborhood of that limit. For traffic lights, the red light shows that the vehicle has to stop instantaneously. Yellow light shows that the vehicle has to choose whether it is safe to traverse ahead or not, and based on that, it has to stop. And finally, on green light, the vehicle resumes its mission, whatever it is, to go and navigate further. So as you can see, once the light turned green, the vehicle has resumed its motion. And upon seeing the left sign, it will trim its steering towards zero point 0.7 of its maximum steering limit and will be actively controlled only in the neighborhood of that value. Again, you will see here that the traffic light was manually toggled and it has become red, which indicated the vehicle to stop. And now, once green, the vehicle has resumed its mission. This can be used for single as well as multi-agent scenarios to implement traffic monitoring and control for smart city applications. So thank you. That was the presentation. We are free to answer any questions.
So any accident or intersection between vehicles can be prevented, right, using this?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So I have no questions in this. So very good work and a good presentation.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Tanmay and Chinmay, can you just elaborate on the imitation learning? Uh,
Yes.
what is the kind of architecture which you have used? How this learning happens?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Actually, I will take the help of report
Yeah,
for
yes,
that.
yes.
I hope the report is visible. I hope you can read the details here.
Yeah.
Okay, so when I say when we collected the data, as I said, it comprises of various vehicle states and the sensory readings, out of which we only chose to take the readings from the front camera as the features and the steering angle measurements as the labels for the neural network. The total data samples comprised of around 1,700 different readings, which was the data set for corresponding to 5 different labs taken at 15 hertz. Uh, this is the sample data frame for all the different states and sensor readings, out of which we chose the front camera images and the steering angles, as I said. Coming to the data augmentation, we probabilistically augmented the camera images and simulated shadows, brightness, flip, pan, and tilt. The last two augmentations were specifically done in order to account for real world uncertainties in terms of vibrations and misalignments on the real vehicle. And this was probabilistically done, which means it is not like it is not applied to all the images, but only at a probability value specified here. So for example, for shadows, you can see that the original image is on the left side, and the shadow image, which is basically has random patches of shadows and stray marks on the road marking, drivable part of the arena. The brightness augmentation comprised of brightening or darkening the images to simulate various lighting conditions. The flip augmentation flipped the
No,
images horizontal.
augmentation is fine. Augmentation is fine. Okay.
Okay,
You explain about the learning, machine learning technique.
okay, sir. So in training, we adopted a neural network which has 3 convolutional and 3 fully connected layers. And the input was fed as 128 cross 128 RGB image itself, take after pre-processing it. And based on that, the neural network had to, in an end-to-end manner, directly predict the steering angle, which is the single output, as you can see here. The training hyperparameters are these, which were chosen after taking several iterations of different for trainings, and the best result hyperparameters are these that you can see here.
Okay.
The,
So see this. What is the scalability of this approach? This is, I think, very much limited to that scenario, right?
yes,
In a way, like the curvature radius and stuff like that.
actually not, sir. Like basically, it is not specific to a particular scenario. Of course, as you said, there is a difference, like how much it can, generalize itself towards other scenarios.
No,
But
because
the
in
key,
your condition, the arena basically has an loop pattern, a double loop pattern,
yes, yes,
where the curvature, I believe, is all same throughout, right?
yes, sir.
Okay. In that case, the steering regression, which it is basically performing, is some way biased to the curvature, right?
No, sir. Actually, we have like carried out data balancing and shuffling in the while the training was going on, because the key thing, if you notice in the video itself, I will show you, uh, is that while the data was being collected manually, if you
Mhm.
observe, closely, the data is being collected discretely, like meaning I was controlling using keyboard commands, and therefore the steering commands, as you can see here, are discrete, which means it is actuating to their full limits at most of the times.
Hmm.
And when I'm leaving the key, it is going back to zero directly. Now, if
Hmm.
you look closely, it shouldn't be zero at this point.
Yeah.
The steering should be turned towards left side,
Yeah.
but it
What are they
isn't.
doing about that?
Yes, we actually are randomly removing different parts of the data set which have these type of laws, and reshuffling the data set during each run through the data. So like the neural network is able to see all the data, but at the same time, it is not overfitting to this type of erroneous behavior.
No, see, the one aspect is the labeling aspect you are telling about. Okay, so that
Yes, sir.
is understood. But think about the environmental feature from which it is basically learning. Environmental feature becomes the input, and your labels are the help which you're providing for the learning process.
Yes, sir.
When that is the case, the environmental feature, the curvatures and so on, are fixed, right? The radius of curvature of your loops are fixed, right?
Yes, sir. But the vehicle need not be at the same location every time, right?
No
Uh,
matter where it is. Okay, no matter where it is. Ultimately, the either side that you have the white markers.
yes,
These
sir.
becomes the important feature to learn.
Yes, sir.
So when that is the case, what I am just asking you, out of curiosity, these markers do seem with same radius of curvature everywhere, right?
Yes, sir.
In
Except
that,
for the middle part where the intersection is there. There, the vehicle has
yeah,
to traverse this.
except for the middle part where there is an intersection, remaining all
Yes,
the
sir.
regions, you have the same radius of curvature.
Yes, sir.
Now, in that case, in one way, I would put it as no matter what is your steering angle which you might give through the joystick, somewhere there is a bias through this radius of curvature itself, right?
Actually, to neglect that bias, sorry, to tackle that situation itself, we have taken this particular track wherein we have equal amount of left and right turns, as
Ah,
you
no,
can
no,
see.
left and right is understood. Left and right is understood. But think about a real world condition.
Yes, sir.
When you have the when you have a right turn or left turn, the curvature radius is not same.
Yes, sir. Actually, regarding that, for our particular application, we have chosen as earlier showed in the presentation.
Hmm.
The infrastructure development kit has a single type of right angle turn, as you
Hmm.
can see here.
Hmm.
Of
Hmm.
course, apart from these modules, the users are free to develop their own type of road patterns using graphic
Okay.
editing tools.
No, that's got it. Which means your the larger tool set which you are preparing is capable of creating more scenarios, and from which again a similar training can be done, and then
Exactly, sir.
have an improved performance
Exactly,
without
sir.
maybe the bias. Okay.
Even as you were talking about the bias
No,
towards
why
turning
I was
behavior.
interested in asking. See, one of my PhD scholars is actually working on this problem for a human crowded environment, not for vehicle to vehicle interaction. And
Okay.
the other point is that did you verify for a different radius of curvature this bias? What is the effect it has? The see, remember you trained on a similar scenario. You tested on the same scenario in the real world. Okay. So, for instance, what I'm interested to know, if you let maybe even in the simulation a different pattern where you have a different radius of curvature, what is this effect of this bias which was introduced during the learning? Did you make any experiment like that?
Actually, sir, we have published an exhaustive paper on this particular application related to behavioral cloning,
Ah,
wherein we have not exploited this platform because it was it was done very earlier. In that work, we have tested with different types of scenarios, different vehicles, the generalization capability of a neural network depending on its depth and other hyperparameters chosen. So, as you
good.
are saying, training on a single type of environment and then generalizing it to various different environments, it is absolutely doable, wherein you should have a sufficient amount of data
Hmm.
which can generalize it across various domains or various applications that you
Hmm.
are trying to deploy your model into, as well as the depth of the neural network, which is extremely important for non-linearizing and generalizing in general.
And also, we
No,
are proposing another
no,
paper
that is fine.
wherein
See, I say I don't have any concern related to the learning architecture. Okay, I think that should be capable. I was just concerned about the data had some bias, and did you test without this pattern how well it is performing? The learning which it has done on a pattern, let's say pattern one, pattern two is slightly different in terms of curvature radius and so on. How well it is able to do there?
it is
Did you,
perfectly fine. It is working perfectly fine. The reason being that it is not trying to, exactly measure any parameters of the road. It is basically detecting the features, and based on that, it's generating the steering command.
yeah. So
Now, if it is
one of the feature which primarily guides the robot for the steering angle regression becomes the curvature radius itself. In the background, there maybe captures a very different feature, not like how we define, but
yes, sir.
ultimately that will surely have an influence about on what is being regressed, right?
Yes, sir, yes, sir.
You
But
have
again,
any sample to show for that? Any sample? I mean, road scene on which you have tested this imitation learning learned on one particular environment pattern, but regressed on something else. Any
uh,
example you have?
Yes, actually we have. I will have to go online and show you the video.
No, if it's
So
going to take time, it's fine. Okay.
no, sir, it won't take much time.
Can you quickly make it then, please?
Yes, sir. And as I was saying, we are also proposing another work wherein we are proposing a modular architecture. Like we have modules trained for different behaviors, and based on the current environment, the module will be switched to that particular behavior in order to, get a better autonomy and better reliability for the autonomous driving.
Good, good, good.
So basically,
This is one learning scenario wherein we have trained and deployed the model on the same. There is another video wherein the environment is drastically different, and like you can see here that the road is type of a racetrack. Here it is more of a conventional road. The turns and everything is also drastically different, and here it is two lane also, and here it is single lane. Here the vehicle was more challenged for lane keeping as well. And after training this particular model, we deployed this model onto this scenario, which is the third video, and you can see that it like performed extremely well, like without even going away from the track a single time. So this is the model trained on this particular scenario. You can see that there is a little bit of because this had more curves and everything, as you
Yeah,
said,
yeah, understood,
model
understood.
is pretty much shaking, but it is certainly not going off road.
Very good,
for
very
this
good.
particular behavior itself, I was saying that we are planning to keep a modular architecture where we have different models trained for different behaviors. As you can see, this is a simplistic driving behavior, whereas this is quite challenging. So based on the driving behavior, that it will perform a classification problem initially, and based on what exactly is the required driving behavior, it will switch to that particular model.
Okay, guys, very good. Okay, so your project will be the latest benchmark for the BTech mechatronics students, and I think this benchmark will take a lot of years to be surpassed. And I appreciate your effort throughout the entire BTech program. You have been exceptional. I believe students, if were close to you, they might have got inspired by your work. Continue this good work throughout your life, and whatever best way possible, you try to help us grow in the later future. Wish you all the best
Definitely, sir.
wishes.
Thank you
Thank you,
so much,
sir.
sir.
It was like an honor to hear the words of appreciation from you.
Very good.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.